Hello, hello, Twitter sphere, podcast land. It's a thirsty Thursday. Excited for today's show, Matt. We get to talk beer with Hannah from 10 Barrel Brewing. We're going to bring her on in just a little bit. And she's a novice investor, which will be fun to rapid fire help her out on her journey to become a better investor / trader. Good morning, Matt.
Morning, Bob.
How you feeling this morning?
Thirsty,
Matt. It's Earth Day. Happy Earth Day. Earth and the moon. I'm a big lover of moon cycles.
Super moon today, tomorrow, Monday. Isn't there a super moon Monday?
I think so. Yeah. Anyway, Earth Day, Matt.
What does that mean? What does it mean when it's a super moon, since you're in the
I think it means it's closer a little bit by just a little margin, and so it looks fuller. Doesn't take, believe me, high pressure building. I'm better at the weather map than the moon and the moon phases.
Yes.
But you can see a big trough.
But tides are powerful. Tides are powerful. So
tides are powerful,
and
it's amazing too. The farther north you get, the bigger tidal surges that you have, north and south, I would imagine.
So from a price guy perspective, then you should be on alert when you have a super moon cycle, because things might be more volatile. I don't know.
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope
so.
Matt, before we bring in Hannah, let's talk a little price discovery, because we've had we had the polar vortex collapse, and we talked about it, and we talked about wheat prices back then, and now we have had another big trough. Thank you, Canada, that is freezing the wheat crop all over, and this is actually what wheat ice inside the hollow stem, and then it gets below, there's moisture there, it gets below 27 degrees, and guess what? That wheat plant, no bueno. So let's jump to the wheat chart just for a second, because it is full on.
Well, all the grains have
rocket shipping grains
full on, through the roof today. Let me bring up the wheat to start here. And again, new high. We have a new high above 7. And, this is the one we had talked about just a couple weeks ago. What a great buying opportunity you had on that dip versus the others. The others being corn and soybeans. They never really gave you the pullback. So I find it interesting that you had the little blip in wheat, and you better have moved quickly, because the weather moves quickly, as you said. And so soybeans in the 15 handles, Bob. That's a new number for us, 15 handles. And continues on the super cycle as you fractal out. I mean, we're hitting highs we haven't seen since 2014, which we hit about 1535. And then we also hit in 1560 or so. And then the all-time high was back here when things were really fun. Again, when everything was dollar related. This goes back to our conversation we had yesterday. So when the dollar was crushed the most, everything was up here the most. And that was during the Obama years, 1788. So it's interesting.
1788 all-time highs, soybeans.
I believe that was the all-time highs. It was
right on. And let's fractal back to the wheat and just to have that all-time high available.
Yeah, for wheat, it was a little earlier. It was in 08, and it was right here about $13.50. So you're about halfway there.
So still a full double available.
Yep. And then corn has been, as high as also in that 2011 period. It might have been a little higher. Hang on a second. A little higher at 830s, 840s. And we're trading at 650 here today. But again, going parabolic, reaching out of the hole here that we were in for a number of years. And when these things come alive, and we talked about it right as it was happening last summer, load up on the grains. The food wars the price wars are coming, and good Lord, are they there. I mean, again, I was just looking at buying a few things at the grocery store online this morning before we hopped on here, and I couldn't find a sirloin available. I couldn't find a fillet available. So meat's difficult to find, and I don't buy it that often. About the only thing I can find is still chicken. There's chicken coops everywhere, so we're good there.
Chickens are like cockroaches, dude. They're not going away anytime soon.
Right.
For
But
sure.
the meat thing is boggling to me, like the lack of beef, especially specifically. And I'm talking, ground beef and maybe one New York strip. I couldn't get access to those at a Safeway locally, so it's awfully strange, at least online.
All right, man. Let's talk just a little bit. I want to share the screen because it is Earth Day, and there's a lot of chatter about Earth Day and global warming, which is now climate change. Because apparently it can be,
and apparently,
always has been. Yeah, let me share, because I wanted to bring up, and I've just said this the whole time, and I think you agree that it seems like propaganda to benefit China.
Yeah,
let's call a spade, and this is just
even some of the headlines I saw today, right out of the Biden's global climate change, warming, cooling summit, whatever we want to call it, with Greta leading us off and all the figureheads there. Z went out and said, we're going to move our goals out to, we're going to make it happen in our carbon by 2060. The rest of you, good luck.
Well, here's the funny thing is like, how do you have this conversation without putting their feet to the fire? Right. Read this. China approved construction of 36.9 gigawatts. Maybe it's a gigawatt, and we can run a Back to the Future car on Sunday. Coal-fired capacity just last year, 3 times more than a year earlier. They tripled their production of coal-fired electricity. Now, and it has 247 gigawatts of coal power under development, enough to supply the whole of Germany, who closed all their nuclear plants and now needs to have a pipeline for natural gas built from Russia. All these things get very discombobulated in my mind.
Yeah, well, and I love the comment, where's Greta? Exactly. Well, Greta's on the payroll from the CCP, as is Kerry, as is Biden, as is all of them. I guess, Z is the boss. So whatever, China says goes. Z is the boss of the NBA. Z is the boss of LeBron. So you won't be getting my money.
Man, he's got a good he's got a good something.
Yeah.
Anyway, Matt, well, we have the chance here. I want to jump to crypto real quick. And then I'm sure Hannah will be spot on time. So let me do that, because Matt, I know you're going to like today's segment in crypto because hold on.
By the way, we did test that 51,000 here early this morning, right around when was that? When all my alerts were going off. Was it last night? Last night at around 7.
I'm not sure I heard a word.
Yeah, no, I was just saying last night around 7, crypto tested that 51,000 area again.
Well,
and,
it's if
that was a
paying
strange
attention.
It was literally
attention, Matt.
All my alerts went off, and I was like, "What's going on?" So it traded down to 51s, and before I knew it, it was already back here at 55. So it's like nothing ever happened.
Good place, good buying opportunity.
Typical a thin market action again. Once again, in the PTON. There's really no trading going on. But
Matt, I'm gonna come your way today. As much as I don't like, but I brought several things up about the why, right? The why on crypto. Today, I'm going to do the why not. And this was the first one. Users of a Turkish crypto exchange, Thodex, allege fraud, with their lawyers saying hundreds of millions of dollars have been stolen. The head of the exchange has been unreachable and has allegedly left the building. Like
he's in Croatia on a beach.
Yeah.
Never to be
and
seen.
So for me, I know a little bit about crypto, and I know that if somebody hacked and stole hundreds of millions of dollars in crypto, they don't have a very well set up system. As there's this thing called cold storage, where most exchanges keep the vast majority of their tokens. So an outside hacker can't get in. There's no connection to the key because it's not on chain. It's actually on a flash drive or something in a storage facility.
I love how they use
But this
pictures
is
of
the
that.
why not, and I've always thought this as being a real problem with crypto. Like you don't just, if your bank account gets hacked, you got a pretty good chance of getting it back. In the crypto world, it seems if you lose the money, it's like, hey, sorry, man, thanks for playing.
Yeah. If you lose your 29,000 digit code that you have to put down somewhere, yeah, you're in trouble.
All right, and then
But-
we're going to talk Peter Brandt. You know, this interaction got a ton of action in the Twitter sphere, and he had said, "Let there be no doubt that Coinbase dealt its clients some real carnage over the last 7-minute period. Knowing Coinbase, no doubt it filled some client sell orders well below the posted low." So Peter Brandt's been calling them out, and so then I responded to him, Peter, now that it is public, doesn't the SEC begin an investigation tomorrow or next week, especially if there's complaints? And he sarcastically says, no investigation. The SEC oversight officers are not capable of finding the bathroom without the help of hall monitors. I remember hall monitors, and I think, and then he shared this. Hold on. And I believe what he's trying to say is this price discovery here happened outside of the posted daily range. I don't know that to be a fact, but he's insinuating in the previous tweet, and he has insinuated before, that you can actually be filled on an order in Coinbase outside of the traded range. And guess who's logic would dictate who's scooping up that price discovery. I mean, it's, you know. And so this again is a big problem with the space. Like, you're not supposed to trade the book, and you're not supposed to give fills outside of the range.
Again, just watching the actual price action, like I said last night, right on the Asian session, we get the dip all the way down. I mean, that was at the moment, it was probably it was a $3,000 or $4,000 move, and it was just like one bar down and one 15-minute bar down, and then we went back to where we were, and that's where we are now. So, like, you were talking about $180 million in transactions, blah, 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 yesterday. I'm like, where does that happen? Like, show me where that happens, like on a price discovery chart. I don't see it.
No, but it's not, that's not what they were saying. And we need to have an expert on it. That was actually money not being traded, being transacted or changing hands.
Well, isn't that a trade, Bob? I mean,
it's not necessarily a trade. It's more like a transfer. My understanding of it.
It makes no sense to me.
And I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed with all of my understanding on it.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to bring up, while we wait here, just and I've talked about this before. Again, I think this chart is very intriguing, and that is the CROX Ether Bitcoin. This chart, this is the weekly, and I was fully pressing into the weekly collar. And again, so important, and crypto never sleeps. This is gonna, not close and roll till Sunday night. For sure, you don't want to see this thing collapse back and put in, not a strong green candle. Man, I was like Rain Man there for a second. Green candle, definitely green candle.
The Matrix.
But for this to develop into a major bull run, Ether versus Bitcoin, this week it's proved itself, right? But it's got to prove itself at the close, because we're going to have expanding potential. And if we fractal in just a little bit, you'll see, like on the 3-day, which I love, it's already doing this. It's got this bull standard deviation setup going on, and it's hell and gone from where it's been. And so people have talked about this for a long time. It has not really, it's basically been flat since December, since it's bottomed here. How about this, September of 18? It's been very flat. And it looks to me like it wants to break out and tell a different story.
Well, to me, there's two things going on there. Ether continues to go higher, and Bitcoin continues to go lower. So that would be the case, right? And really, all you need is a down Bitcoin, and that whole thing still, it works, right? If you're trading,
I would think so too. And I think this is a very interesting part of the market. And so when I look at this chart, I also look at Ether against the dollar. right? Because
Right.
part of my thought is, well, if Bitcoin craps out, they're all going to crap out. But right now, that's not showing up in the Ether dollar chart either. So you got two things working for this spread. Bitcoin looks like it wants to trade lower, and Ether looks like it wants to trade higher. And so, you know, I've said forever that sometimes there's a better story than Bitcoin, and I really think going forward here, this cross or these pair trades are going to be the best place to be putting your crypto dollars to work. Not
Yeah.
necessarily.
So again, you're talking about buying Ether over Bitcoin, right? And
Exactly.
that's your pair. So, but again, you can't really separate them, and this is the dilemma. You can't say, oh well, I want to get long Bitcoin. No, you're basically saying I'm betting that Bitcoin's going to go much lower than Ether's going to go much higher, right? And both should work out in my
Yeah,
favor.
it's a complicated evolution on that trade for sure.
Okay.
Here's for sure though, like if you're a crypto maximalist and you're just like, I am not going back to the dollar, if you're stubborn like that, well then there's no reason to be in Bitcoin the way this chart set up is. Like you should be shifting your weight or your weighting to another story than Bitcoin. And there's a lot of other ones that have enough transactional volume that you could actually move a reasonable amount of money into them. And that becomes a problem too with a lot of the alts. It's like, how much could you actually put to work in a particular coin? Or if you're trying to move 10,000 or 20,000 or $50,000, is that going to schmeeze the market? And that's an important thing. I mean,
So when it comes to Dogecoin, we're now a week out from the first, from the all-time high that we saw last Friday when everybody was going like, this is so easy, it's so crazy, love it, blah, blah, blah. So we're right back to the low end of the range that we've been in when it comes to Doge. So what does that mean, Bob?
I'm not sure, Matt. Wait a second, Matt. I got a little message from Hannah. It says the link just took her to the website.
Well,
how can we, hold on. Let me see if I can't do it.
You can do it right from Zoom there. That's not difficult.
It's not difficult.
You just go to Zoom and you give her the link right here. Invite. Yeah.
Well, we're working with technology here.
Yes, sir. While you're doing that, let me bring up the chart on Doge. We can just run through that real quick while you're bringing in Hannah. And again, it's interesting that it's been a week now, and we've tested the high once. This morning we went down to like 26 cents. So it was another new, got into the 25. So remember when I said 25s, Bob, it didn't take long. We got there again. So 2 times, 44 to 25, 44 to 25. And this thing looks really heavy, really heavy. And again, to me, you got a lot of trapped people, a week's worth of trapped people. And I don't know, I guess Elon and all the Doge and Mark Cubans of the world better start talking about it again if they need to sell some more, because that's going to be the only thing that moves this thing right now. Because it is dying on the vine. And the next time it goes through 22 cents, it's going to go down to 15 cents. So take your money while you can on those pet rocks. Those pet rocks from 1975 aren't worth what they were in 1975.
All right, man. What else is jumping at you? Hey, I think we got it. There we go. Connecting audio.
Hello.
Hello, Hannah. Let me. Hannah Barnett, everyone. She is Hannah. Why would I do it? You do it better. Tell us all about yourself. I know we know that you are with 10 Barrel Brewing.
Yes. Yeah.
You have an enviable job. You get to drink beer most every day.
Pretty much all the time. Yeah. I work for 10 Barrel as the digital marketing manager. So I am the one who responds to y'all's Twitter, and I do all the tweets and the social media and a lot of video. And I have a podcast. So I do beer stuff on the internet. It's probably the easiest way to say it.
But you're also, what is the name of your designation when you're a beer pro? You have the.
Oh, yeah. So I'm also a certified Cicerone. So essentially a professional beer geek. If you guys know like a sommelier for wine,
Yep.
it's the industry equivalent.
How,
Maybe a
how,
little
how many
more.
shotguns of beers does it take to get that certification?
It requires a lot. Yeah, you have to shotgun 140 styles, or learn about and memorize 140 different beer styles. So that was a fun test.
Now is 140 is 140 kind of where we are? I mean, will that grow? Will that be 280 soon?
Oh, it grows and changes every year. There's a couple different like style guidelines. The one that is most widely followed is the Beer Judge Certification Program style guideline. I believe they're at 140, but I mean, it's changing all the time. There's new styles that get added. There's kind of, those are the traditional ones. And then there's always modifications of stuff. So like IPAs, there's like 7 different categories of IPA, and you get to drink a lot of beer and learn a lot of beer history and food pairings and the whole 9.
Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead, Bob.
Now, me first, Matt. 140 styles. You're not doing that and then taking the test at the same time. That's got to be very.
Not
try these 140 beers and then we're going to test you on them. How's it work?
So the test is 3 parts. So there's a written test where it takes about 3 hours. And it's just kind of going over everything from history to brewing process. Styles is kind of the beefiest category, the one that most people struggle with the most. There's food pairing. There's an essay portion where you have to write about different styles, the difference between them, blah, blah, blah. And then there's also a like video filmed part where you have to put together a piece of brewing equipment and say like, this is the shank, this is the thing, and you have to like take it apart in your film, which is really scary. And then there's the tasting portion, which there's 4 different flights within that, and it's identifying off flavors. It's style comparison. So they'll be like, okay, is this a West Coast IPA or a now of course I'm drawing a blank, West Coast IPA or hazy IPA, for example, or like, is this a like Irish stout or an American stout? And each one of those have their own different categories and profiles and things that go with them. One of my favorite ones was Guinness. So Guinness as an Irish stout has this, like, I had to identify whether or not it was Guinness or a different stout. And Guinness actually has this interesting sour character to it. It's like a slight, like sour blueberry note. Like it's just like a hint of it. And that's the only way you can identify Guinness different than like other Irish stouts. So that was cool. And then you have like basically the theory is a customer comes up to you at the bar and says there's something wrong with this beer. It's a hazy IPA, it's being served on draft, and you have to try the beer and determine A, is the customer right or wrong? And B, if they're right, what is wrong with that beer and how do you fix it? So it's a pretty intensive process.
Is this organization headquartered in the U.S. or is it somewhere in Europe? I mean, why did it end up in the U.S.? Just because we're the U.S. and we'll come up with our own little thing.
Marketing.
Yeah, it's marketing.
I mean, a lot of it is that, right? So I believe Cicerone is headquartered in the US, but it is an international organization. So there are Cicerones around the world.
Are they snobbier in Eastern Europe than they are in Central Oregon?
Actually, no. I found that the American Cicerones are really the snobbiest. We're pretty, yeah. But a lot of it too is it's mostly Americans, just since it is based in America. But it's actually there's 4 different certifications you can get. So there's certified beer server, which is the first, like level 1, which is like a 60 question quiz. Like every beer server and bartender out there should take it. I'm a big proponent of that. And then once you pass that, it kind of gets into like the pro leagues, which is Cicerone, like officially Cicerone, like level 2 technically, but that's when you can call yourself a Cicerone. Before then you're a certified beer server. And then you can get advanced Cicerone, which is a way, like even taking it further, like this is a compounding thing. So like, I'm not even going to try for advanced, because at that point you have to that's if you want to be a beer educator, right? If you want to teach people about beer, if you want to like go teach classes and like take all these, like You have to be graded by a panel of judges who all determine whether or not they think that you're qualified. You have to like present to them on like a whole thing. And then even further, there's only, I think, about 3,000 of those in the country. And then there's level 4, which is like a master Cicerone. There's, I believe, 15 or 16 of those in the world. So that's like the people that they can smell a beer from like 6 feet across they're like superhuman at that point. I'm lucky to have gotten taught by 2 of them. And they're truly incredible. It's super fun to work with them and just the nerdiest beer nerds you'll ever meet.
All right, speaking of education, Hannah, we talk markets and price discovery and how popular trends show up on charts in different segments, and you are a novice trader investor, so we want to pitch it back to you and have you pick our brains on all things not beer.
Absolutely. I wish I knew as much about investing as I did about beer. I'd probably be making more money, but I picked beer. Which was an interesting choice. But yeah, I've got my little like Robin Hood and I've been playing around. I call it fun money because my sister is actually a finance master's degree. So I like to text her my recent stock picks and she loves to insult me based on them. I think my best one.
I'm curious what your finance master's sister likes, as a, I don't know what kind of performer she is in the market as far as like, does she buy based on fundamentals, technicals, or, do you know anything about it? But I'd be curious what her background is to mock you because,
well, she's more on like the corporate finance side for like a big company in Portland. And she is a, I believe the term is like bear, where like you don't want to, but like she's very conservative, very like.
She believes the market is overvalued.
I would say, yeah, I'm assuming these things. But so what my favorite story is, one time, and you guys are I'm sorry for all the viewers who are going to judge me heavily here. One time I bought Ford because I saw that the Ford v Ferrari movie was coming out. And I thought that might bump the stock price up when it came out.
It's actually not a bad idea. I mean, it really isn't.
See, she was insulting me pretty heavy on that one. So I would say my stock choices are mostly influenced by pop culture. I do social media for a living, so I like to think that if I can, I can see trends coming. But
but that's important. That's hugely important when you want, like we were talking when we were at your offices last week. We were talking about Sam Adams, and I honestly didn't know that they own Truly, and that explained the price of the whole stock right there to me. I was like, oh, well, let's just call it Truly. Well, they should just change the name to Truly, and the symbol would make more sense. It would be even greater in the momentum that it's been seen. So I actually think your access to the social media information is wildly popular. And with that in mind, what the heck is going on with your parent company, Budweiser? Now handing out, what are they? They're giving beers if you get a jab now? Tell me about that.
I mean,
how does that work?
That a lot of people think that we at 10 Barrel know a lot more about what's happening at Bud than we do. But we're kind of like the like stepchild that goes and snowboards and skis and does all that. So, I mean, I think it's cool. Like personally, I've been vaccinated. I know that there's like a lot of
but how do you get like, do you get a coupon? Like, how does this work? That's all I want. That's what I'm asking. What's the mechanics of it?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's different from state to state. Every state is completely different about how they do like rules and regulations when it comes to contests and giveaways. So you'd have to read the fine print on each state. Most of the time it's typically a gift card. Just because giving away beer is a weird thing in a lot of places. So typically with stuff like that, it's a gift card or like a coupon voucher or stuff like that, but it would totally vary state to state. I'm not even sure in Oregon what it is, but I would say it's probably falling in line with like a rebate program, where you're getting like a gift card or like a check for $1.25 or whatever a bottle of Bud costs.
You got to jump through all these hoops just to get it, I'm sure.
I mean, hey, but here's the thing. If you just, get that $1.50 and invest it in Doge, you never know, right?
Right on. And you know what you said about, your pulse in social media, and we talk about all the time how just your everyday life, how trades show up, and or just something that you want to take a look at to see if it might become a trade.
Right.
And so I think that's important part of the metric that you're involved in social media. You can see trends maybe earlier than other people. And then if you can come up with a good methodology, right, on saying, well, this is the trend, this is the stock that's associated with, let me look at the stock. And especially from an investor standpoint, then look at some long-term metrics, right, Matt?
There are some pretty sizable operations now that do just this, and they sell this information to hedge funds. So they put together a list of what's trending, whether it's companies, whether it's new, whether it's the new pink Crocs, whatever the trend that might be taking off, and they sell this information to large hedge funds at substantial numbers, like $50,000 to $100,000 a month type subscription. So it's hugely valuable if you can containerize and put this the social media information into a database that is actionable. To your point, Bob. So, I mean, and it goes, for me, works perfectly with the whole Peter Lynch model, which is invest in what you know, right? If you like the Bloomin' Onion at Outback, he used to write about that, then you should buy the stock.
Completely. Yeah. I mean, is CROX publicly traded?
It is. Yep.
Sweet. I'm going to go buy that because I just got their summer sandals slap. So
hold on. No, wait a second. This is a good teaching point. Your Crocs, Matt, bring it up. Let's talk about it.
I haven't looked at the stock.
Okay, this is actually awesome because we have one of our trade marketing manager, who's the person who handles those text to wins and giveaways you guys were just mentioning. He's actually one of the biggest Croc fans I've ever known. He has an Instagram account called In My Crocs. They're just photos of him in his Crocs.
In his Crocs.
So this is awesome.
CROX, Matt.
Yeah, I got it. We're looking at it right here, and again, it's been doing extremely well. Matter of fact, peaked here in mid-March with everything else, Bob, and is coming back and testing it, trading about 81.5 as we speak. So, market cap $5.36 billion today, averaging about just shy of 1 million shares. So it's fairly liquid, but when the trend changes and the pink Crocs aren't a thing anymore, watch out below, because the value point for this stock is back at $36, which we have not seen since last summer. So this has had a heck of a run. And again, the low was put in post-COVID meltdown there at 825. So we had a 10X, Bob. We already had the 10X.
10X. All right. So that being said, when you look at that chart, it's like, I'm not sure I don't think it gets another 10Xer in it. But
so that's my question is, how do you tell when something's going to go from being that low and it's still going up? How do you tell if it's going to keep going up or if it's going to drop off?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? You tell me.
I'd be drinking a lot more beer outside.
Hannah, kind of what's happened is we moved up to this range. So this is how markets kind of move. This thing was straight up from March until January. And then from January until now, it's kind of been in a $10, $15 range, right? So here's the way I would basically, I would fractal out or fractal into a closer time frame and say, okay, so we're in this price range, right? And you can see that price range again up here. 86 was the all-time high that we saw in March, and most recently we're trading a little bit lower, and the low was around $70. So we'll just draw that. Basically, what I would say is your next $15 will come when we break above or we break below, right? Until then, you can play ping pong, which just means hit the paddle when it hits 85, sell it, and buy the paddle when it hits near 70. That has been working for the last 3 months. And other than that, it's just kind of a simple little sine wave, if you will, if you remember from your algebra 2 days. It's just a little sine wave that goes up and down until it's done doing up and down and goes higher or goes lower. So your next $15 come when we break out one way, higher or lower. There's your,
and that gives you a little bit of perspective too, then on a longer term buy point, which would be 50, you want to buy it cheaper.
Right.
So you're talking a $55 bid, you throw in there and forget about it. And if you get filled, hey, great, I got some Crocs at a better value than, Walmart.
Yeah, and as you look, and as you look at this longer term chart, you start to see the value is really back here at around $37. So it's really got out ahead of itself. $5.5 billion. I don't know if this is an all time high. Let me look. Let me fractal out because this stock went crazy back in 2007 and 8, and it was the junk du jour at that time. And you can see what happens. And this is also good for Hannah and our viewers to see that these things cycle, right? They, for whatever reason, this thing came back to life. It was dead there for a while. In the 08, 9, when we had the financial crisis, this thing was trading 48 cents. It literally was on the floor, ready to die. And it came back in 2011, it traded as high as 33. So that was almost a 10 bagger. And then it pulled back again in 17, all the way to $6. And then from 6, we kind of took off until the pandemic started last spring, sold back to that lower end. And then we took off with everything. Again, we can't go back in time, but this is a little scary. The more parabolic, the more straight up you get, the more I'm like warning Will Robinson, danger, danger, danger. So
yeah, I mean, I think the important thing, and it doesn't matter what comes across your plate as far as, wow, that's an interesting story. I like that brand. I like that story, whatever. When you pull the chart up and you see the history of price discovery, you can say to yourself, well, why would I buy it now? It's already had a 10x move. Like, how many more CROX are they going to sell?
Got it. You got to
right?
be
Are they
just
opening
a
up
couple months
CROX on
before
Mars or something that I don't know about?
right.
Interesting.
So it is interesting because I wouldn't necessarily sell it right now either because of it still could go higher, but it's basically a no trade zone for me. Like I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch it either way. I wouldn't want to. I'd lean more towards the short side, meaning it's more likely to go down in my book with a stop over 87. If we get over 87 on a close, I'm wrong, but we're only trading 81, so it's pretty low risk. So the trade for me would probably be if you put a gun to my head today, and not a knife because I don't want to get shot, but if you put a gun to my head, you might want to look at shorting this right now, in my opinion.
All right, Hannah, what else? Fire away, man. Fire away.
I recently sold Peloton right before all the stuff started coming out about their treadmills, and I want to know if that was the right call or if I messed up.
Well, did you sell it before they announced that little kids shouldn't hop on them and bad parenting? Could have.
Yeah. Well, so I bought it back right when it started taking off. So I made I only bought one, I think one or a half or whatever. I made $120 off of it.
That's great.
So that was cool. But I'm wondering if it's dipped or what that stock has been doing because I haven't really been watching it since I sold.
Why don't you give us an idea where you bought it before and where you sold it?
Let me see. I believe I bought it when it was $28 a share.
$28, way back here. You bought it back in the spring. Okay.
That was kind of my initial pandemic hobby was playing around with money. And then I bought a bunch of stuff and honestly, I haven't really paid attention to it. So I'm up a lot because I bought it when everything was low, but now I'm sitting on a bunch of random stocks that I'm wondering what I should do with them now. I have Live Nation and I bought all these event stocks because I figured they would tank while you couldn't do events and then eventually pick back up once it became a thing again.
That seems like a smart move. It's just a matter of when, I guess, and it doesn't look like it's going to be this year again, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Those stocks will probably come back nicely. But, when it comes to Peloton, I would say, this news is really kind of stupid. They'll be sued and they'll pay some money. But what the heck are your kids doing on a treadmill or, why is a 1-year-old even near it? That's not really a product problem. So I see this more as a blip in the pricing. And then when you look at the pricing, and I should probably just show the chart as I'm talking about it. But when you look at the pricing, we're just getting back into the value as you look at, the last year and a half of price. Now, if this $100 level where you can see we've kind of held 1, 2, and then even here, 96, I think it's right around $94. As long as 90, so it's kind of like the reverse of what we just saw on CROX. I would be a seller of CROX up to say 87, 88. I would be a buyer of Peloton maybe down to 90. I'd give it a little bit of range. Anything below 90, and then you start getting into this kind of the meat of this chart, Hannah, which is this thing has a lot of holes in it. And this happens because stocks go one way, whether it's up or down, in a big manner over a relatively short period of time. So you didn't have a lot of transactions at a lot of these prices. So anywhere where you have these holes in this profile is really an area where nothing really traded there. So there's really no strong hands either way, long or short. So when you get into them, think of them like holes. It's like quicksand. The price moves very swiftly through areas like that because it needs to find if there are real buyers and or sellers at those prices. So it's a real simple way of looking at it. So I would say with the news that all just came out and it's off 20%, 124 down to 120, it's probably a good area for a trade. A trade would be, again, a bounce from 90 to 115, something like that. And then you move out of it, go on to, exit the trade again, you make your 10%, rinse and repeat and find the next thing to do the same thing. So it's a very tradable issue, and it's not going to go away. And it's not like it's financial fraud. If here's what I always tell people, like if it's financial fraud, call your sister and say, is this going to be a problem? Because she can tell you, like, is that going to be a problem long term, or is it just a blip? Is it something that people make mistakes in accounting and they'll pay a fine and it goes away? Because most of the time it is things like that. But if it's serious and it's an Enron type fraud, you want to know and you want to avoid it. So use your resources, use your people that know about, finance and accounting, if it is accounting related, because that's a serious thing. But just because a kid stumbles upon and is trying to get his ball underneath the Peloton video that we've all seen, that too will pass, right? And I think you'll see a bump in the stock eventually.
Nice. Well, I gotta head to drink some beers, but thanks for having me on.
I gotta tell you, I need to be a cicerone myself.
Yeah, you should
Pretty
take
fun.
the test.
Yeah, I can teach you guys. You teach me about stocks, I'll teach you about beer.
All right, we're
Absolutely. All right, Hannah, thank you so much.
Hey, Hannah, when is we were on the podcast, what was it, 2 weeks ago almost now? When has that been released? Can you give us
Not
any
yet. Yeah. So we have a podcast here at 10 Barrel called Fully Aligned. It's kind of like a behind the scenes look at what happens working at a brewery. We interview a lot of our employees, you fine gentlemen, and just people that we think are interesting. We're working through, we've got a pretty solid backlog of content, but I will check with our producer and see when we're going to get our stock talk out. Because it was a really fun episode. We had a lot of fun recording with you guys. So hopefully soon, but I'll keep in touch.
All right.
Okay.
Beautiful.
All right.
Thank you so much, Hannah.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
Hannah. Have a great afternoon. All right. So that was great.
Hey, man,
Bob.
since we did, let's pull up that Bud chart and the Sam chart to wrap things up. Talking
Sure.
beer.
Talking beer, talking cicerones.
I'm still a
great
little
name.
irritated that it's a Italian name. Like
Everything good is Italian. So Bud is coming back to the highs here. It's trading 70.50 right now. It reached 70.73 today. Again, 72 was the recent high, and its low was back here 32 during the pandemic low. $115 billion market cap, paying a nice dividend, 1.25 also, even at this high prices. So, dividend only goes up when the stock price goes down. So it's not the only way it does, but that's one way. So that means you've got some protection. If the price of the stock falls, and the dividend yield will increase. So they pay you, at least there's very few stocks in the world anymore that pay dividends. So
it just blows me away. It's like at some point, it seems to me to be the only metric to actually value something like that.
Well, that used to be how you would evaluate common stock versus preferred stock. And, now it's just all basically speculative stock. Nothing really pays any dividends, except for a lot of the drug companies and a lot of the oil companies that make real money, and beer companies, right? They're all making money. Right. So their shareholders benefit from holding on to the stock. If you want to be a holder and learn about what holding really means, these are the types of stocks you should hold if you want to buy and hold, because they do at least pay you a coupon by owning and sitting in their stock. It's not a bad deal.
Yes, it's a little bit of profit sharing. All right, man, let me, you did that one. Let me bring up the SAM chart, because we have We have a developing story. We have tune in tonight at 11, a developing story. Sam Adams, Boston Beer Company, a bit over their skis as far as I'm concerned. Again, a lot of week left, but they're putting in a new all-time high. And it looks as if now they close. We got a kind of an engulfing red candle on the weekly, which is not the strongest, healthiest candle to have. They're still respecting this momentum level coming in this week at, where the heck is it? 1,222, room 222, Matt. 1222 is the momentum level this week. For sure, if there's more weakness this week and they take that level out and close, not only in a big red engulfing candle, but also out of up momentum. If you're a Boston Beer Company hodler, I would say beware, lighten up, sell some calls, do something to protect yourself on the downside. Anyway, Matt, that's what I'm seeing. What else we got?
We got a month that's coming to a close, and it's been nothing but green. So really, it's been pretty quiet, Bob. I mean,
green. We'll talk tomorrow, hogs, cattle, because maybe tomorrow's the day that it actually happens. Hogs over cattle. We're getting damn close.
We're getting close. Yeah, I mean, we're back up, pushing to the highs again here on the SPOOs, 41.69 trading or so, and I don't see it letting up. We had, we couldn't even test the low of 4,100. So again, nothing. We're grinding up here towards the high. We're not making new highs, but we're near them every day. 1 week ago, we basically started the sell-off. That was on the 16th. Tomorrow's the 23rd. Looks like we're going to be right back to where we were on the 16th.
All right, Matt, you know what? It is Earth Day, and let me share this.
Yeah, please.
It has nothing to do with being Earth Day, but I like to share. This headline, Matt: McCormick still struggling to meet pandemic-fueled demand for Old Bay seasoning. Something that just really grinds my gears, Matt, because I am also in the spice business, and Old Bay it's just been sitting on top like for 100 years, and I just got something to say about that, Matt, because for my money, the Manja TV Shrimp Mojo it is so much better. It's not even close.
No, it doesn't even taste. Close. It's not. Well, first of all, it doesn't taste anything like McCormick's.
Yeah, but it's still a seasoning for seafood.
Oh, I prefer it. I'm a big fan, and I'm not being paid for my endorsement. So let me just say that.
That's a lie. I pay you in rub.
I have one bag of rub.
He's actually dealing rub in his alleyway now. He's dealing dime bags of rub. That's how this whole thing works. You get a guy, you send him some rub. He loves it. You send him a little more. Next thing you know, he's dealing dime bags of rub.
I got kids on banana seated bikes running around selling fucking rub.
That's all I'm saying. You can get the Shrimp Mojo spice at Amazon. I will share this link. But all I want to end the show with is say fuck Old Bay already.
Fuck McCormick's.
Old Bay, it's had its time. All right, it's time to bury Old Bay.
As has the Domino sugar plant that burnt to the ground in Baltimore this week. So absolutely, it's had its time.
This segment brought to you by Shrimp Mojo Dry Rub, award-winning Cajun spice, available at Amazon.com, and we will share the link. Thank you so much, Matt.
All right, Bob. Thanks.
See ya.